It's by far one of my favorite leftover reinventions with some turkey and a little leftover gravy, but more on that later. You can check out the recipe descriptions in the details below in this video, and while you're there, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Okay, you've had that successful Thanksgiving or Friendsgiving or whatever holiday meal, and now you have a ton of leftovers. What to do with them? Here are my top ideas. Have some leftover stuffing or maybe some veggies in the fridge after a big holiday meal. We'll pair these with some eggs and we're on the road to the perfect frittata. Get chunks of stuffing into a skillet with a couple tablespoons of olive oil. Saute that until your toast chunks really get nice and crispy. You are creating pockets of toast. And then add any extra veggies that might be lurking around. I have some leftover Brussels sprouts that I made from my honey hot Brussels sprouts. Get those in the pan. Meanwhile, beat up several eggs, 6 to 8, season them well, enough to fill the overall skillet. Add your eggs to the dish, maybe add a little cheese over top if you like, and then cover the whole thing and let your frittata bake off until it's nice and puffed in the middle. You can even end it by sticking it under the broiler and letting that cheese that you've added over top do a nice sort of brown toasty melt. A frittata is a great thing to have in your repertoire, and this one is good for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and totally takes that leftover stuffing or vegetables to a whole different level. Let's talk about uses for leftover mashed potatoes. Why not try and make some homemade gnocchi and pair it with a totally original sauce so that you don't even recognize that mash? My take on using up leftover mashed potatoes is keep them cold and put a couple cups in a little mixing bowl, fluff them with a fork to make sure that they're not gluey, and then add enough flour as well as maybe an egg yolk and make a nice dough that you're then going to roll out and create your own homemade gnocchi. This may not be a classic recipe because your potatoes might already have cream and butter in them, but it's a great way to use up anything that's lurking in the fridge from that big holiday meal. Roll your potato gnocchi dough out into a thin log and then cut it into short 1-inch pieces. If you like, take the tines of a fork and press lightly to give them a nice shape. Meanwhile, get some boiling salted water going and then drop your gnocchi in and let them boil until they float to the surface. This is also a great time if you have any leftover sage to make a nice brown butter and sage sauce to serve them in, or serve them with a marinara. In this case today, I had some sliced garlic and sun-dried tomatoes. Delicious, and those potatoes do not taste like the mashed ones we had at Thanksgiving the other day. Probably one of my favorite leftover creations from a big turkey day is the classic Pittsburgh sandwich, the Turkey Devonshire. If you haven't heard of the Turkey Devonshire, it's an open-faced turkey sandwich with bacon and a cheese sauce. It's baked or broiled, and it's totally delicious. Start off by toasting some white bread. I like some good Italian bread. This might also be leftover from a meal you had this week. And put that in the bottom of an oven-safe baking dish. You're gonna lay your sandwich with slices of crisp bacon, leftover turkey. I have some turkey breast, but even dark meat works. Some sliced or diced tomato is optional here. And then what we're gonna spoon over is a rich cheese sauce. And this is a second reinvention from our leftovers. The cheese sauce in the Turkey Devonshire is usually a combination of cream and cheese, flour, butter, and chicken stock. But what I'm using is some of our leftover turkey gravy, adding a little cream to it, and then lots of shredded cheddar cheese. In this case, I'm using sharp white cheddar. I love that flavor. And to smooth out the sauce, an unusual ingredient, a slice of American cheese. The American cheese makes the sauce more emulsified and smooth. Spoon the cheese sauce over your open-faced turkey sandwiches. Sprinkle on a little paprika. I'm using smoked paprika in this case because I like how it echoes the bacon flavor. Put it in a hot oven at say 450 or 475 until everything gets nice and warm and crisp and the cheese sauce starts to bubble. If you want a little extra crispness, show your Turkey Devonshire to the broiler element so that that cheese sauce gets some nice browning on top. It's one of my favorite sandwiches and it's a true Pittsburgh tradition. If you've got some leftover cranberry sauce, There is no need to chuck it in the next couple weeks. It's like a jam in the refrigerator, and it's totally perfect as one of the many accompaniments on your next charcuterie board. A little sharp cheeses, maybe a melted brie, some crackers, and a little cranberry sauce. That is a good combination. Some of these recipes may not be to the classic recipe, but it's all about using up what you got and not letting anything go to waste. This food is delicious and there's no reason it should get thrown out. It can be totally transformed into something awesome. Happy feasting and happy holidays. Reinvent those to a perfect frittata. It's 2:30. Oh! For every open-faced Turkeyshire, for every turkey Devonshire, someone is not supervising today. She is napping in the sun. Rightfully so. It's like 20 degrees outside.